Hey, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and read this racial integrity laws of the 1920s. It started in 1924 all the way through 1930 was when it fully went into effect in Virginia. This is where it started, and this is where it spread out throughout North America. The website is www.encyclopediavirginia.org/racial integrity laws of the 1920s. Okay. Um, I guess the person who edited this, or it says contributed by Brendan Wolf. I guess he's the one who posted this, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this. Okay, this is further evidence that the people in America who was called Negro, blacks, and colored are really of Indian, of North American Indian descent. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off right now. All right. Racial integrity laws were passed by the General Assembly to protect whiteness against what many Virginians perceived to be the negative effects of race mixing. They included the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, which prohibited interracial marriage and defined as white a person who has no trace whatsoever of any blood other than Caucasian. The Public Assemblages Act of 1926, which required all public meeting spaces to be strictly segregated, and the third act passed in 1930 that defined as black a person who has even a trace of African American ancestry. This way of defining whiteness as a kind of purity in bloodline became known as the one drop rule. These laws arrived at a time when a pseudoscience of white superiority called eugenics gained support by groups like the Anglo-Saxon Clubs of America, which argued that the mixing of whites, African Americans, and Virginia Indians could cause great societal harm, despite the fact that the races had been intermixed since European settlement. From this position as the state register of vital statistics, Walter A. Plecker micromanaged the racial classifications of Virginians, often worrying that blacks were attempting to pass as white. Virginia Indians were particularly incensed by the laws. Okay. And by Plecker in particular because the state seemed intent on removing any legal recognition of Indian identity in favor of the broader category, colored. After one failed try, lawmakers largely achieved this goal in 1930, drawing negative reaction from the black press. The Racial Integrity Act remained on the books until 1967, when the U.S. Supreme Court in Loving v. Virginia found its prohibition of interracial marriage to be unconstitutional. Okay, so basically that's all I'm gonna read on this, um, because it has all of the things that I want to speak on. Um, for one, they they went ahead and changed this article on this site, okay, because it didn't have certain things, certain words they took out, but it still has the truth in it, okay. So what they did basically was all the Virginian Indians had to be they basically had to be classed as colored, okay. It says um because the state seemed intent on removing any legal recognition of Indian identity in favor of the broader category colored. After one failed try, lawmakers largely achieved this goal in 1930. Okay. See, so that's why in America they call the Negro population colored. All right. It was changed. At first it was Negro, and then it turned to colored because they wanted to basically separate the different ethnic groups in America. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to keep their white purity, but at the same time further separate the Indian population from who they really are. Okay. So what they did was they took the Indian identity and they forced them to make themselves as colored people. Okay. And this law was achieved in 1930. All right. And as you can see, they use colored, but then a sentence down it says, after one failed try, lawmakers largely achieved this goal in 1930, drawing negative reaction from the black press. You see that? Then they use black, okay, which was the third classification of Indians in America. Okay, first it was Negro, then it was colored, then it became black. All right, and it says the Racial Integrity Act remained on the books until 1967. Okay, and what happened in the 70s? What's his name? Jesse Jackson. He's the one that coined the term African American. Okay, you see that? So in 1967, it basically, the Racial Integrity Act went away. So what they did was they had to come up with another name to call you Indian people in America, who are now called African Americans. Okay, because Jesse Jackson came up with the term African American to further you away from your true heritage, all right, which is in America. Okay, you're the real Indian people in America. All right, and that's what Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to tell you without actually saying it. That's why he said in his last speech, okay, he said the Negro is still languish, and he finds himself in exile in his own land. Okay, he was telling you that you are the real Indians of North America. Okay, and he called you Negro. Now you see how they're trying to change your identity. They're classifying you as false titles and labels, as like colored, black, Negro, African American. That's not who you really are. You are the true descendants of the Indians, who they now say are have been genocided away. In a way, they're telling the truth, because mentally, yes, you are being genocided. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're doing mental genocide on the Indian population by telling you that you come from Africa when you don't come from Africa. You're standing on your land right now. Okay? So they conquered you mentally. You're basically mental slaves. Okay? And this article is proof. All right, it's called the Racial Integrity Laws of 1924 in Virginia, which is where they first where they started to make false contracts with the Indians. Okay, the which is also home of the Powhatan Indians. Okay, which is also a part of the Iroquois Confederacy. All right, a very powerful Indian nation. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read this again about how the Indians had to change themselves to be called colored. All right. Okay. From his position as the State Register of Vital Statistics, Walter A. Plecker micromanaged the racial classifications of Virginians, often worrying that blacks were attempting to pass as white. Virginia Indians were particularly incensed by the laws, and by Plecker in particular, because the state seemed intent on removing any legal recognition of Indian identity in favor of the broader category, colored. After one failed try, lawmakers largely achieved this goal in 1930. So there it is. That's the truth. Okay? This is going to be a part of, I think I'm going to make the video a little bit longer than what I just read here, but I don't know. But anyways, please check this out. There's more to read on this article, but this is the meat right here. This very first part of this article, okay? Racial Integrity Laws of 1924. Go check it out. All right, peace.